Hey guys, I'm glad you could join me. Today I'm going to show you how I make homemade dehydrated Fideo. I'm also going to show you how I store it in vacuum seal bags. Now I will have a list of the ingredients that you will need in the description of this video. Okay, so now I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil just so the meat won't stick to the pan. It's going to get washed off anyway, so it's okay, and you'll see what I'm talking about when after the meat is browned. So I'm going to cut this off. We vacuum seal our own. Yeah, we buy in bulk. Save a little bit of money. So that's 1 pound. And then we're going to do 2 pounds of lean ground beef. And it needs to be lean, the 90%, because you don't want any fat in it when you're starting to dehydrate, because that's going to make it go rancid a lot faster. And we're not going to add any spices to the meat or anything like that, because like I said, we're going to end up just washing it off. So for right now, we're just going to brown it up and get it cooked nice and brown. Turn the heat up a little bit more. Starting to sizzle. And you want to break it up into small pieces, because you don't want them to be very big when you're starting to dehydrate, to make sure that all the meat gets dried out very, very well. Because you don't want this going bad on you. And it won't. Just do what you have to do and it'll be alright. You want it nice, little bitty pieces. Preparing it like this is very different when you plan on just cooking it and eating it at home. The process is pretty different. Like right now, you could be adding the onions and peppers and all your spices if you're just going to eat it at home. But for dehydrating, you just can't do that. While that's browning, I'm going to grab a colander real quick. We are going to rinse this off as soon as this is done. You want to get all the fat out. We want to render as much fat out as we can. That way there's very little of it chance of it getting rancid in storage. Okay, I think that's going to do it, and we will take it over to the sink. Okay, now let's get the meat in the colander and get it rinsed out. I get all the grease out of here. No more grease. Alright, let's give this a good rinse. With really hot water. You can kind of see the grease or the oil if you let the water pool up a little bit, and see how there's less and less of it. It's looking really good. It's almost all gone. Just gonna make sure it's all gone. And so I gotta use really hot water And that should do it. Now while that sits and drains, what I'm gonna do now is wipe down the pot, get all that animal fat out, and we're gonna brown the fideo, but I want to use vegetable oil or olive oil for that part. So let me clean this up real quick, and then we'll be right back. Okay, now it is time to brown the fideo, or vermicelli. So I'm put another about tablespoon or so of olive oil. Let's get that going. And then we're going to brown 3 pounds of fideo. And honestly, guys, it doesn't have to be Barilla. It could be whatever brand you want, as long as it's fideo. All right, here we go. I'm going to add about another half a tablespoon, so it's going to be about 2 tablespoons. 3 pounds is a lot. That is a lot of pasta. And this does make a lot. This is going to make a lot of fideo. But the good thing about that is once you're done, when you're done or finished dehydrating it all, it's going to be enough for quite a few camping trips. Because what we're going to do is once it's dehydrated, you measure it out to serving sizes and make it stretch a long way. This is going to be so good. Like if you look at the bottom of the pan, there's no oil pooling anywhere. It's just enough to coat the pasta and brown it. You don't want to put too much. And keep it going. You don't want it to burn. Once it starts getting really hot, it can burn really, really fast. Gotta check that bottom. You don't let it burn. I have it all the way on high, so it's getting hot. You can see some of the pasta is starting to change color. So it's getting there. You only want to stop stirring for a few seconds, because, like I said, this thing can burn really quick if you're not careful. And once this is done, what we're going to do is take it out of the pot, set it aside. Then we're going to saute some onions and peppers, get them nice and tender. Then we're going to put the beef back in and then add the liquids and the spices and let the sauce boil for a while. And some of them are going to get really, really dark brown, some of the individual pastas. And honestly, that's actually a good thing. It's going to add more depth to the flavor once it's done. It's not going to taste burnt unless you actually let it really, really burn. But some good, nice, dark pieces in there, that's a good thing. And it's almost there. Just have to be careful. Don't let it burn. It's very, very hot. And as it gets hotter and hotter, it's going to start browning faster and faster. So this is when you have to start really being careful. This is smelling so amazing. That's good. I'm guessing maybe in about another 2 minutes it's going to be ready to take out. Okay, it's getting there. We got some really, a few pieces are starting to get pretty dark, and that's what I want to see. I want to see some really light pieces. I want to see some really, really dark pieces, and all the shades of brown in between. It's going to develop the flavors really well that way. That's just about there. Now once this is done, we're going to take it out and set it aside so we can start with the veggies. Have a quick little close-up. I don't know if you can see that there's some really, really dark ones, some really light ones, and some medium browned ones. And that's what you want to see. You want to see all those different colors. If you don't brown it enough, it's not going to taste right. You got to get those flavors developed. And this is probably about it, guys. I'm going to probably take this out right now because it's going to start burning if I let it go too much longer. So I'm going to slide it over, get it off the heat. All right, let's go. Let's put this in here. All right, we're going to set this aside and start working on the vegetables. It's going to continue cooking in the bowl. It is so hot. That's why you don't want to overdo it. There's nice dark ones in there. That's enough. If you wait too long, they'll burn really quick. Get all these guys out of here. All right. Oh, that looks just right. It's perfect. Smells delicious. Okay, guys, what we have here in this little bowl, we have some chipotle chili pepper, and we have 1 teaspoon of that in here. We have cumin or comino, and we have 1 tablespoon of that in here, and garlic powder, and we have 1 tablespoon of that in here, and we have paprika, the Spanish style, and we have 2 teaspoons of that in here, and we have some chili powder, and we have 2 teaspoons of that in here, and that's just going to be the starting point. Once we throw all that in there and the sauce is boiling, we're going to check it in about 30 minutes and adjust flavors if you want to add anything else. And I don't have any salt or black pepper in here yet, but I'm going to put that in the pot as it's cooking. So right now, we're going to cut up this onion and probably use half of this bag of bell peppers. This is peppers that we had in the freezer that we grew from our garden from last spring. We actually have a lot left in the freezer, so I'm going to use some of these guys. I'm going to use about half this bag, and that's probably the equivalent of 1 medium bell pepper. And I'll use about half this bag for that. I'm going to open those up, and I'll start with those. They're still kind of frozen, but that's okay. A little bit too much. Take some of those. There we go. That's about half the bag right there. And I'll start by chopping these guys up. And you want them small because you want it to be able to dehydrate. So you want some nice small pieces. Now we are using store-bought tomato sauce right now, but I'm hoping this year our garden will produce more tomatoes, because we do can our own tomatoes. We don't can them in tomato sauce. We do can whole peel tomatoes, but those are easy enough to turn into a sauce in a blender. And that is those. I'll slide those guys aside. All right, sorry guys, I have to switch onions. That was a bad onion, so I'm gonna have to do another one. I just have a bunch of them over there lying around. And I thought I grabbed a good one, but I didn't. That's okay. We have more. Let this guy peel. The middle of this one's a little iffy, but I'll just take that out. Get that off. Oops. Take that out. And cut that iffy piece off. And let's give these guys a chop. We're going to do the whole thing. It's a big batch of pasta, so you're going to need lots of flavor. Honestly, you can put as much as you want. If you like a lot of onion, put a lot of onion. I think one's going to be enough, one large one. Take that, keeps sticking to me. Let me take that weird piece off. There we go. All right, that's that, and we'll get this over to the pot and start sauteing them. Now it's time for the, and again, about a tablespoon. Yeah, it's about a tablespoon and a half. Let's get them in there. Alright, look at these guys. Nice and tender. It's not going to take too long. I have it on high. And at this point, I think I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper. That's probably about half a teaspoon. I'm going to start with that for now. I like to add the black pepper at this point because the heat will help, well, it'll allow the black pepper to release the little bit of oils that are in it. It'll help with the flavor. You can really smell the pepper. It smells delicious. You can see the onions are getting close. They're turning translucent. They're getting really close. I mean, you can go as far as caramelizing them if you want, but you don't really need to. This has always been one of my favorite dishes. As a child, my mom would make it. I love Fideo. Yeah, we're originally from South Texas, so almost everybody down there has their own version of the same dish, and they're pretty much all delicious. And that should do it for that. They're translucent, so I'm going to go ahead and put the meat in there now. Let's get the meat back in. Let's heat that up. And then we'll start adding the tomato sauce and a little bit of water. Alright, let's get all this mixed up. I wish you guys could smell this. It's amazing. And it's just black pepper right now. That's all that's in there. The vegetables and the meat and the black pepper, and it really smells really good. Okay, now I'm going to grab that little bowl of spices. I'm going to throw that in here to activate the oils and those spices before we add the sauce and the water. Now this is where it's going to really start smelling crazy good. Oh yeah. Oh my God. It doesn't take that long to heat up the spices. You don't want to burn them either. So I'm going to start adding. They're starting to stick to the bottom. I don't know if you can see that or not on the camera, but it's time to start adding the sauce. There you go. Oops. So keep mixing. I don't want it to burn. It's starting to cool down a little bit with the sauce, so it's going to be all right. And we're going to add 90 ounces of tomato sauce and 30 ounces of water. And I know it sounds like it's not going to be enough. And it really isn't if you were just going to eat it right now, because the reason it's really low on liquid in this recipe is because it's going to be dehydrated. So you want it slightly on the dry side to begin with. And we're going to let this boil for about 45 minutes to an hour so all the flavors can develop in the sauce. Anytime you're making any type of tomato sauce, whether it's Mexican or Italian or whatever, you want to cook that sauce down. I know there's some sauces that I make for Italian dishes that I'll boil for at least 2 hours. There's one water, and then water. That should be all the liquid we're going to add for now. And we're going to let this go for at least 45 minutes before we check on it. Well, I'll be checking on it in the meantime, but before we put the pasta in. Okay. All right, it's been going for about 45 minutes.
Steam all over that. You might want to let that clear.
Okay. Steam up the camera. Now we're going to add the pasta, and we're going to let this just get cooked till done. It's probably going to take about 10 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer. But we'll check it in about 10 minutes and see what it looks like. Normally it would be more water than this, but you don't want it to be very liquidy. You want it to be dry and done, so it's not so hard to dehydrate. So there's that, and we are going to check back on it in about at least 10 minutes. Okay guys, it's pretty much done. You can have a look inside. It's very, very dry, but the pasta is actually done. And what ended up happening was a lot of the water evaporated out of the sauce while we were cooking it. And we ended up adding another 4 cups of water, 2 at a time, so it wasn't too much. And you can see how dry it is, and it's just, the pasta's done just past al dente, so it's gonna be fine. It's just how it is, and it's nice and dry. So what we're gonna do now is let it cool off, and then we're going to put it in some containers, and then just throw it in the refrigerator till tomorrow, at least 10 hours, and then spread it out in the dehydrator trays, and we'll get that going. So at that point, we'll show you guys how to do it, and then that's pretty much it. I guess we'll see you then. All right, that's it guys. It's just cooled off enough. Now we can just put it in some containers. We're gonna let it sit for at least 10 hours to finish soaking up the last bit of moisture that was in the sauce. And it's done a really good job already. And then it'll be ready to dehydrate. And I guess we will see y'all then. Okay guys, the Fideo is all done, and it was enough to fill up these 2 containers, and they're both 14 cups each, or 3.3 liters, whatever you want to call it. And they are, I mean, they're full to the top, both of them, all the way to the top. So it makes a lot. So what's probably going to happen, it's going to be more than 1 batch at a time to dehydrate, because we have the Cabela's Pro Harvester, and it was a gift a few Christmases back from some friends of ours, some good friends of ours. Brenda and Chris, thank you very much for it. Appreciate it. We use it a lot. We've made jerky. We've dehydrated some peppers from our garden. Just different things. So yeah, very, very handy. Thank you again. But so now what we're going to do here is you have to keep it nice and thin, and it's really nice and dry. It's very, very dry. It's ready to go. You want it nice and thin because you don't want it to not dry out quickly, so mold or anything like that will develop. You don't want anything like that to happen. So a nice thin layer. And we're going to go all the way around. Just get your hands all in there. Get it spread around. Break it up if there's chunks. Now these trays have bigger holes, but you have to buy these plastic mats to put on the bottom. And they're cutouts because they're made for different models that Cabela makes of their dehydrators. So you just have to cut the right shape out for whichever model that you have. And it'll work just fine. We actually have some other ones that don't have the holes. They're just flat little mats that go in here. And those are made, used to make like fruit roll-ups. And we've made a batch of those and they come out really good. As we make more things, we will definitely post more recipes and how it works for different recipes on how to do everything. So that's about it. You don't want to put any more than that. There's gaps here and there so the air can flow through really well. and it's nice and full. So that's going to be it for that one. Let's get this in there. It's kind of tricky. There's one. Oops. Get these. And the good thing about dehydrating your own camping food is that it comes out really, really good. And once it's done, we are going to vacuum seal it in small pouches. And we'll show you how we do that too. But, so it's nice and lightweight. It's just as good as the ones you buy from the store. If not better, because you get to flavor it the way you want. And for a whole lot less money. And no chemicals in it for preservatives. It's everything that you put. You know exactly what's going in your food. And this recipe, it came out really, really good. We tasted, I think we tasted a little bit too much when it was done. But it's really good. It's a little on the spicy side from the chipotle powder. But man, just that smoky flavor, that's just delicious. And honestly, if you just follow the basic instructions with the meat and the pasta and the ratio of liquid to the pasta, you can make it any kind of flavors you want, different types of pastas. There's some other ones I want to try, some new ones that I've been thinking about. Okay, I think that's going to be it. Don't want to overdo it. Don't want to ruin the batch. Last one. Oh yeah, from the looks of what we have, this is going to definitely be 4 batches. So that's going to be, I might throw this one in the freezer while we're working with this one, because that's going to be about 40 hours of dehydrating 4 batches. Now, if you have a bigger dehydrator, of course you can do it a lot more at once. But we're working this one, but it works. It works really good. Just a little bit more work into it, that's all. And if you run into any big chunks of meat, make sure you break that up a little bit. You don't want it too chunky so it's not so hard to dry out. All right, that's probably gonna do it for this batch. Let me go wash up and we'll turn it on. All right, guys. So now I just slide this over here. And you know what, I'll turn it this way. That way you can see what I'm doing. Slide it right there. And then get this top put on. Oh, you know what, that was the right way. That always confuses me. Okay. Let's see this one. There. Now, turn it on. Let me see, make sure it's plugged in. It is not plugged in. That'll help. There it goes. And we're going to set the timer to 10 hours. And we're going to set the temperature to 150. And that's it. There it goes. We'll check on it in about 5 hours. And since the fan on this unit is on the top, I'll probably rotate the trays so the one at the bottom is going to be at the top. That way they're evenly dried out. But, and that's it, guys. We will check back with you when it's done and see how it goes. Okay, guys. The first batch is done. We had it in here and it was cooling down. The second batch is done. I'm about to take this one out. It's done and it's nice and dried out real. I mean, it's really crispy and crunchy. That's exactly what you want. So what we'll do Just get it out and dump it in this bowl. Oops, get that piece. There's that one. Let's see, turn this sideways. And what we're going to do is we're going to weigh this out into 5-ounce portions, and then we're going to vacuum seal it. And I'm also going to get the last batch going for another 10 hours. So this is 20 hours worth of dehydrating so far. And I know it seems like a lot, but once you set it up, you just walk away. It's no big deal. It's not like you got to sit there and watch it. So it's not that bad. And you're going to end up with a lot of, look at that. Can y'all hear that? Listen to this. That's what you want right there. All right. And then you're going to end up with a lot of very inexpensive, delicious, dehydrated camping / hiking, whatever you want to call it, food for being outdoors. It didn't cost you an arm and a leg, just a little bit of work. All right, that's that right there. What I'm gonna do now is go ahead and get the vacuum sealer set up. There's old man Crash. Hey Crash. That's a good boy. Okay, what I'm gonna do is get the vacuum sealer set up. We'll weigh this out in 5-ounce portions, get them sealed up, and then we'll get the last batch going, and then I'll be right back. All right, guys, we got everything to set up to start vacuum sealing, and we already did one right here already. This is what's going to look like when it's done. It's nice and thin, not too heavy, and this one's ready to be thrown in the freezer, and who knows, it should last at least a year, if not longer, in the freezer. This thing is ready to go. So, I've already sealed this end. So now I'm going to weigh out the 5 ounces. There we go. Now one thing you're going to want to do is if you look through here, you're going to see some big chunks like this. And there's in like this one, here's another one. You want to break that up because you don't want those poking through your plastic. Because honestly, you don't have to use a vacuum sealed bag. You can just use freezer quart bags to do this in. But this plastic it's not as durable as this plastic, so you want to make sure you crush all this stuff up so it doesn't tear through your plastic. All right, that ought to do it. Now, let's get it in our bag. I'm using my canning funnel for when we can our vegetables, but this works pretty good. All right. Now shake it to thin it out so it can pack easy. Get it nice and thinned out, and then just seal it. And that's it. And I left the bags big on purpose. That way we can label what's in what food is in here. And that's pretty much how it works, guys. And this is, I mean, boom, throw it in your backpack. You're ready to go. And you'll have plenty of food for your trips. So I'll do one more. And I like this because you can buy, you get different size rolls. You make your own bags, whatever size you want. Right there. Slice it. Seal one end. And that's it. Now you got another bag ready to go. And Food Saver is not a sponsor. We bought this. Just so you know, in case you were wondering, we're not sponsored by Food Saver. And then you just keep going to the same process. So what we're going to do now, or what I'm going to do now, is finish bagging all this up. And we still have one more batch to dehydrate. And then when that one's done, what I'll do is show you exactly how many 5-ounce bags that this whole batch of Fideo is going to make. And that way you can get an idea of, you know, how much food you're going to be making all at once. And then when all that's done, we'll get back with you. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. And I've got water in my Fideo, and I put about 3/4 of an inch of water above the Fideo. And that should be enough. Once it gets boiling, I'm gonna let it boil for about 9 minutes or so. And I'm gonna cover it up for about 15 minutes and let it sit. So I'll set it aside and I'll check it out after that. It should be good, but we'll check it out. So that's going right there. All right. It's going pretty good. Oh, that's looking good. Oh yeah, I'm gonna give that another 2-3 minutes or so. And then I'm just gonna cover it up and let it sit for 10-15 minutes. Oh guys, this looks so good. No crashes is mine. You can't have this, it has onions in it. It's not good for you. Look at this, guys. I don't know if y'all can see that. It's perfectly hydrated. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be good. And that 5 ounces, look at, I mean, that is a big serving of pasta. The 5 ounces dried or dehydrated in that bag. So now, it's still really hot. I'm gonna let mine cool down next to Crash's. I'm not gonna try to eat this yet, because I just took the lid off of it. I wish you guys could taste this. That's it, guys. If you liked the video, hit the like and subscribe buttons. Get the bell on if you want to be notified when the next one comes out. Also, leave a comment if you have any questions or just want to say hi. Thanks for watching. Bye.